Story time. Growing up with a Roman Catholic mother helped me to understand how gamers truly are the most oppressed minority. She barely tolerated most games, as I imagine any good mother does, but she especially disliked anything to do with the devil or evil imagery. Because of this, I don't really have any fond memories of playing Diablo like most guys my age, because my mom's church friend told her Diablo was Spanish for Satan or something, and the game was permanently banned from my household. Weirdly enough, Doom was fine for 6-year-old Grimbles. Somehow my dad found out a Mormon was one of the lead programmers and convinced my mother it was about killing demons. While this is all technically true, it's kinda weird. And as my mom knew nothing about video games, she often just formed her opinion based on what was on the game's cover. This logic led to her renting me Mortal Kombat instead of Demon's Crest from Blockbuster, which I wasn't gonna complain about, but I think we all know which one is worse for a child to be exposed to. I mentioned the whole cover thing because when Warcraft 3 became the game in middle school, I had to be tactical if I wanted to play it. Especially as I already missed out on StarCraft because of the Brood War cover. And as some of you may remember, Warcraft 3 had 4 box arts, one for each of the major factions. So the plan I devised was to show my mother, a proud German woman, the cover with Arthas on it. Then, I would tell her it was a game about uniting humans and elves to banish demons and orcs, while showing her that there was a good white Christian guy on the cover. And you know what? It worked. I got the game and wasted, by conservative estimates, a good 3 of my transformative years sitting in a dark room playing Warcraft 3. Looking back, my parents were probably right about video games being a waste of time, as I absolutely could have spent those years learning to play guitar or getting into powerlifting when my T levels weren't circling the drain. But it's too late now, and much like my pet hamster, I'm never getting that time back. Now, some of you who never experienced the game might be wondering how I managed to clock over 25,000 hours into a single player experience. And let me tell you, I didn't. You didn't play Warcraft 3 for the single player, you played it for Battlenet. Alright, imagine this. Blizzard, back before the Cosby Room, released a tool called the World Editor that effectively let you create your own levels with all the resources and assets the developers had access to. This was back in 2002, by the way, and years before Mario Maker existed. Us artistic types went nuts with it. Hero Line Wars, Wintermull Wars, Footman Frenzy, Protect the Girl, Protect the King, Poker Defense, Anime Hero Wars, and whatever this is.
Oh my god!
Warcraft 3 became the creative playground that let us make whatever we wanted to. And some of the results are exactly what you'd expect. Fun fact, Warcraft 3 is where I discovered what a goatsy was. You see, there was this ability we had to insert splash images into your levels, and somebody made a variant of Run Kitty Run where when you died, the image splashes the goatsy on your screen. Also, you new kids with your thug shakers and your gotcha moochie edits, you're all standing on the shoulders of giants. Before any of the memes of men kissing each other we have now, us grognards of the internet were inserting images of male genitalia into loading screens, title cards, skill tooltips, and anywhere else we could troll our friends with. Proving that, no matter the era or medium, if you give a man a paintbrush, he's gonna draw a baloney pony. After a while, some of the better games became their own standalones. Dota 2, Heroes of New Earth, and League of Legends were all originally Warcraft 3 mods, or were created by people that worked on them. And I hate all of them. League hasn't been fun for me since they removed Twisted Fate's map-wide slow and added Ezreal to the game. And the last time I played Heroes of New Earth, someone realized it was my first game after 2 minutes, told me I was a moron for playing Puppet Master, and then my entire team AFK'd until we lost. In fact, it's actually amazing to me that of all the games that came out of Warcraft 3, MOBAs have been the ones that left such a lasting legacy. Not Uther Party, not Helm's Deep Survival, or even Pyramid Escape. No, the most cancerous and toxic games crawled out of the depths of hell, while the good ones got stuck in the past like that Nintendo you haven't touched for 20 years. Well, all except for a handful, with Legion Tower Defense 2 being one of them. So let's leave the MOBAs to the heliophobes who are all doped up on Adderall, and focus on that instead. Now, when we break down games, there's really only 2 types of games. Real games, where the plot can be described in 5 words or less, and fake games that pseudo-intellectuals like to stand behind because somebody called them gifted in 2nd grade, and they haven't developed as a human ever since. Here, let me give you some examples of games that are real games and those that are fake. Side note, as I realized I didn't mention this until after I started editing the video, a real game can be defined in 5 words or less. Anything else is a fake game. Alright, let's continue. Metal Gear Solid. War is good, actually. 4 words. Real game. Fallout New Vegas. Working for USPS is the most dangerous job in the world. Too many words? Fake game. Lobotomy Corporation. Amazon Alexa isn't your wife. Real game. Fear and Hunger. Don't gamble on coin flips. Might be a real game, but I'm not touching it with a 30-foot stick as I'm afraid of the community. Finally, there's Legion Tower Defense. It's a real game, as it can be summarized in not 5, but 3 words. F those guys. Legion Tower Defense is not only a real game, it sits in a special room with other dignified games in that the plot is so simple, you don't even need to know it to have fun. But I'm going to tell you anyway. See, you're a garrison force for your king, and your job is to hire enough mercenaries to breach the enemy line and kill their king before your opponents do the same to you. On paper, it's a pretty straightforward concept. But trust me, there's entirely too many Germans who play this game for it to be that simple. If you really reduce Legion Tower Defense to its core components, it's a game about risk assessment. You have a finite amount of cash that may fluctuate depending on how well you or your opponents are doing at any given time that you must spend appropriately. This money is made in one of 3 ways. By killing the generic wave sends and the mercenaries your opponents hire against you, by causing your opponent to leak and damaging their king, and finally, passive income earned through frugal investments in the New York housing market where you don't have to listen to your tenants' complaints and make money hand over fist as the state does nothing to punish you for these violations. Then, as you start to amass this fortune, you have to decide where those resources go. Do you invest in your defenses? Or are you like me, and you think the best offense is recreating the living conditions in an Industrial Revolution factory town? Look, if you don't get that metaphor, I'm going to explain. Your mercenaries are not sound-minded individuals. They are actual crackheads, and as they are so far gone in their addiction that they've lost the ability to process that they can exchange gold for drugs, you pay them directly with crack rocks. You mine this electric Kool-Aid by buying children from their parents for the flat fee of $50, at which point they'll work for you until the game is over, and you use them to harvest and process increasingly large shipments of blue crystals that you can then use to hire the mercenaries. By the way, you want to get as many of these as early as you can, as your economy is directly linked to your distribution network, and the more blue powder you have on the streets, the more money you have to defend yourself with. Also, as these miners are prone to developing black lung, they generally don't make it to 23, so the ones you pick up before they're old enough to know how to read are a better return on investment than the ones who've graduated high school. Now that we've gotten the core concept out of the way, let's discuss actually playing Legion Tower Defense 2. Officially, there's 4 game modes. A campaign mode that more or less acts as the game's tutorial, player versus AI, which serves as a good practice mode to figure out where you are skill-wise, and classic mode, where you're going to spend 90% of your time. There's also a ranked mode. We don't go there. That's where the sweat lords live. If you're not the son of a Russian cosmonaut who spends 16 hours a day on this game playing on a Pentium 4 that has been begging for the sweet release of death since before the Berlin Wall fell, you're not going to cut it out for ranked. I played ranked for 1 season, made it to platinum after accidentally being carried for 10 games, and I've never touched it again. Trust me, classic is where you want to be. So now once you've selected classic and loaded in, you'll be given the choice of 2 variant game modes that you can choose from. Income and Chill is on permanent rotation, and you always vote for it. Listen, if you fail to vote for it, or if you're dumb enough to vote against it, everyone gets 30 seconds with a cheese grater and your giggleberries. Don't even test us on this. We're going to do it, and we're going to make it look like an accident. The other game mode is a rotational choice that's taken from a massive pool, though there's always a daily that's weighed heavier than the others. These can range from enhancing a playstyle to outright changing the way the entire game is played. And some of them can get kind of weird. This is actually probably a pretty good time to pause my explanation of the game for a second and say that Legion Tower Defense has one of the nicest communities I've ever seen, which is really weird to me because if you made a Venn diagram of the people who enjoy Dota and the people who enjoy Legion Tower Defense, it's almost a circle. Yet, instead of doing what MOBAs do, where people can't admit their shortcomings and blame their support, Legion plays to your ego. You see, you're responsible for your lane. Any of your units that survive the wave become rearguard for the king, allowing you to flex on your pathetic teammates by holding back their leaks. But if you leak, you have nobody to blame but yourself. Additionally, the game actively rewards you for catching your allies' leaks. It's so creepily foolproof that the only time I've seen somebody rage was when a Brazilian tried to run a 7-income no-build lane and quit after wave 4 when he realized he was losing more money by not killing mercs than he was making by slumlording. Speaking of playstyles, let's talk about those. There's officially 8 vanilla playstyles. They're good for beginners and are designed to synergize with each other really well. Go ahead and use one until you have enough money at the store to purchase a mastermind playstyle. At the time of writing, there's officially 14 playstyles, but 10 of those are for wimps, and I'll mock you relentlessly if you play them. Sure, Cash Out lets you lock a tier 6 hero around 1, and Lock In allows you to plan your entire build around one unit, but that's boring. And if you're one of my subscriblos, you're not boring. You're cool. You're, as the kids would say,
You're a Rizosaurus Rex fam. I'd love to spend 5 nights at your Garden of Bonbon. My Sigma you can Casio tax me any done time you mog me like Kai Senate.
Anyway, you're going to want to pick one of 3 playstyles. Chaos is like playing chess, except your opponent starts and goes, hey man, I'm going to start with a king and 8 pawns, and everything else is just going to randomly change every turn or so. This has got you thinking to yourself, yeah, I enjoy playing Bug Out. Why not try this chess game? And everything goes smoothly until turn 4, when your opponent replaces one of those pawns with a Space Marine. And then turn 8, the pawn he checked your king with becomes a Zoid, and by the time turn 17 is rolled around, 4 of his other pawns have transformed into Exodia cards, and he's looking at you mighty hungrily. That's chaos. You have absolutely no idea what you're going to get every turn, so you don't plan, you adapt. If you sit a child in front of a computer and force them to play chaos during their transformative years, their frontal lobe will develop much more rapidly than their peers. Unfortunately, as you gave them unlimited access to the computer and didn't monitor their internet access, rather than become the next great inventor, they'll probably become a crinkle fur, and you got no way to blame for that but yourself. Hybrid is the other acceptable game mode. Look, the best way I can describe this is by quoting a meme I have. Unfortunately, as the average Zoomer's attention span is now shorter than that of a goldfish, and this meme is a whole 3 sentences, I'm going to go ahead and put a Subway Surfer video up, as well as me playing a Spot the Difference color game to keep your attention going long enough for me to get through this. Komradsky, one of the serious problems in planning against American doctrine is that the Americans do not read their manuals, nor do they feel any obligation to follow their doctrine. That's a Russian document. The reason that the American army does so well in wartime is that war is chaos, and the American army practices chaos on a daily basis. That's a German general. If we don't know what we're doing, the enemy certainly can't anticipate our future actions. Colonel Goodhead. Hybrid is designed for people who watch Takagi and instead of going, there's no way Mahjong is real, it's a joke the Chinese invented and pretend is real so they can make fun of us. What the hell is a chicken hand anyway? Their takeaway from it was, one must always gamble with everything they do. In Hybrid, you build based not on synergy or planning, but through astral navigation, wherein you place units down randomly and pray that Mormon Jesus is smiling at you that day, because otherwise, you just spawned a disciple next to a banana bunker and a gate next to a white main. It's extremely fun, but there's a reason it's disabled in rank play.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
And finally, there's YOLO, where the game gives you a completely random hand without any rhyme or reason, and only lets you reroll once the entire game. This may not seem all that different from reroll, but let me tell you, the rolls are actually random and don't scale with tiering. I have more than once gotten a strip of all level 1 summons and re-rolled it into all level 6 summons. I include it as one of the 4 Manly Man playstyles because of its potential to do more damage to you than your parents did to the economy. There's also Megamind, wherein you pick it and the game randomly assigns you another playstyle, and on paper, that seems like the most chaotic option. But I'm not risking getting stuck with double lock-in and being bored for 20 waves. Then, for added fun, get a buddy involved and duo lane. Now in theory, duo laning should be like a good marriage, wherein you compensate for your partner's weakness, share financial burdens as well as responsibilities, and work together to bring out the best in one another. In all actuality, duo laning works out more like giving 2 homeless people pickaxes and telling them there's a ton of copper wire in the floors of a parking garage. There is zero cohesion, and both of you are mashing the economy button as fast as possible while blaming the other guy for your lane leaking. Then to make matters worse, as soon as your opponents find out you're duo laning, they're going to run nothing but a split minion buff and beat you worse than my dad did when I came home with a 1.6 GPA in middle school. Sorry for the audio quality change again, but when I wrote this script and originally recorded it back in April, the plan was to dedicate an entire section of this video to discussing first turn build strategies for new players. However, ever since the June 3rd Crabpocalypse update, that section is useless, and I'm forced instead to promote the crustacean meta like I'm some sort of Elder Gods missionary. Look, if you're a new player, here's what you should do. Forget about running a turn 1 Sakura or locking in a Pyro to wave 4. Instead, you want to go full crab mode. You need to be building crab locks and crabomancers starting at turn 1, and you don't stop until the game is over. If by turn 21, you don't have enough crab locks to supply an entire Bible Belt Red Lobster for a month, you weren't taking this build seriously. I'm not joking, and this is not a bit. Neither you or I are good enough at this game to combat the Brachyura takeover. So just embrace it. Be like all things, and evolve into crab. Alright, rant over. Back to my original script. Truth be told, I didn't really think of an outro for this video, as this is less a review and more a glowing endorsement for the game that I pick up every April when spring depression gets the worst and I hyperfixate on it for about 3 months straight. I will, however, say that the devs are great guys who care about the game, as they always seem to update it pretty much weekly, and the casual scene is the most fun I've had since, well, Warcraft 3. Also, while writing this review, I tried to change my display name to be less offensive when I discovered it costs in-game currency to do so. And as I'm too addicted to the card gambling to spend in-game currency on anything else, I'm just happy my name and tagline haven't been seen by a dev yet. In fact, I don't have an outro for this video, so I'm just going to go ahead and read off the player names I thought were funniest while collecting footage and editing this video. Anthrax Tampon, Swang Kang, Goofy Obama, Pepsi Max, Porkins, Eatin' Dat Up, Wrath of the Leaking, Salt Warrior, with his tagline, Man Milk Extractor 5000, Schlechte Butter, Penetron, Yeetus, Fet Sarlacc, Obi-Wan Can Blow Me, A Prize-Winning Pig, Hit Me Please, and finally, Mr. Worldwide and his new friend, Spunkmaster 556. I'm gonna get my channel deleted. Alright folks, that's it. See you next time. Yeah, I know it's been 3 months since I've done a video last. Okay, I'm well aware of my own failings. Honestly, I put way too much effort into these videos, and I think I need to scale it back a little bit so I can get more content out faster. So, next game review, I'm banking. I already picked out the game. I'm banking to just more jokes, less visual gags. We'll see how it goes. All right, I'll see you guys next time.